Please welcome Tanmayo Lawson, the Wisdom Priestess.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So as you heard, I was not born, or this body was not born in this wonderful sunburnt country, but in the northeast of Scotland. And I was very lucky in that I grew up with grandparents of the old tradition. And in the old tradition, I was taught to sit in the garden, and my grandmother would say, "Look wi' your other een bairn." And this means look with your other eyes, child. So I learned to look beyond what was here in physical form to see what was behind the door, what was behind the veil. So having been brought up in that way, it wasn't very long before speaking to spirit and beings in other dimensions was just something completely normal. So it didn't take me long, though, to discover that it was much easier to speak to beings in other realms and devas and spirit than it was to talk to each other. So that became a little bit problematic for me. I thought I've got something to learn. So what I discovered particularly is that there is something that I call CPR that's existing in all relationships. And as we're here in this shift, it's really important that we catch up with our reality. Because when we know each and share a reality, then we also have something to communicate. And we communicate from our perception of life. So if we imagine where we all started off in this game, you know, we're here in the 3D world and we've all been horribly conditioned through no fault of anybody's, it's just part of the journey. And at some point, everybody I'm imagining in this room took a little step. I don't know what it was. Maybe you went to the paradigm shift, or you took a workshop, or you went to meditation, or you bought a crystal, and you thought that was really cool and interesting, and then you came home. Back into the reality that you were born into. And then something started to shift in you, and before you knew it, you took another little step. And now you've bought some books and you've gone to another workshop and you've got more crystals and a Buddha, and then you've come back home. And your family are thinking, oh, it's away with the fairies, you know. And they're just having a wee giggle about you because, you know, oh, it's just a phase, she'll get over it, he'll get over it, you know. And then suddenly you do something else and you're wearing different clothes and you've got crystals around your neck, and you come home and you want to communicate and you go, what am I going to communicate about? So you realize that something's happening. You know, you're moving, you're shifting, your reality is changing. But when you come home to your friends and your family, they're not on the same journey as you. So over here, you're talking about really fantastic things like's been going on in this room for 2 days, and you're sharing with your friends, and then you go home and you go, home and away. What happened at the bowls club? Who won on Friday night football? And you like some of it because it's your friends and your family. And then you go to another workshop. and then you come home. And suddenly you're not funny anymore. And they're a bit concerned now about these crystals and these books. And you're not talking the same. Something's really going on. So you stay a little bit quiet. You think, I don't want to rock the boat anymore, it's enough. But before long you go to another workshop. And you just can't help yourself, because once you've started, there's just no stopping. But it becomes problematic, doesn't it?
It's an addiction.
Because now you've got two worlds that you're living in. You know, this is how we learned the sword dance in Scotland. You know, it was the English and the Scots. What are we going to do here? But you're in trouble, actually, aren't you? So you're really enthusiastic about all the things you're learning over here. So you come home and you're so enthusiastic and excited, and you want to tell your family and your friends, and they're going, oh God, they're not on about that again, are they? And you're trying really hard and you want to drag them with you, you know, kicking and screaming. Some of the way you buy them books and you suggest things, you know, they're not playing. But actually, you're the one who's afraid. You know, because this has been your security, this has been your world, this has been your tribe. So you want to take them with you. But they don't want to go, because they didn't make the step. We all made the step. We took the journey. And in taking the journey, there are consequences to that journey, responsibilities of who we are and what we're doing and what we're all about. Now, clearly, we can't live in these two worlds like this, can we? Somewhere we have to do something. So we have to integrate all of these things that we've been learning and make them whole within ourselves so that we can be solid and strong. And then from that place we can communicate. Now obviously with your family you've got history and fun things and the same things with your friends. So you become particular about what you're communicating where. You don't have to beat everybody over the head every time with your reality. But you do find ways to communicate with the people that you love. Otherwise, all that happens is we take the things from the old paradigm with us. Suddenly we notice that we're proselytizing and we're finding fault with how they think and what they do and how they're living their lives. So then actually nothing's shifted. All we've got is better tools to beat somebody up with. So a lot happens in this shift, and sometimes we don't even notice how much we've actually shifted. So I learned lots of stuff along the way because I realized that I don't know a whole lot about how to interact with humans. I know a whole lot about how to interact in other dimensions. That's really simple. But interacting with humans needed something different. And the first thing that it needed was for me to get to know me. It has to be here first. So to talk about intimacy is all to come to that place of realizing that the first place in intimacy is with myself, is the going in. Because in the old paradigm, everything was outside. It's all he's to blame, she's to blame, they did it, the government is fault, the medical profession, it's all about something out there. But if we're really going to bring in the new Eden, the paradigm that we want, the heaven on earth, the golden age, a place where we find love and respect and dignity for each other, it has to start in here. So that means that we're really looking at a really strong and deep inner shift. So this here, you know, when we start on this journey, often there is something that's going on. Maybe our body's in trouble, or our relationships are in trouble, or we notice we're full of thinking and can't get to that quiet place. And so there is this thing about getting better. Well, I'm here to say that there's nobody here getting better, because the one that wants to get better is already the matrix and the problem. What we're here for is to move beyond all that and to witness the dissolution of the highly evolved ego. So very often we're going along in these journeys and we've got great information now, and we're full of knowledge and we're full of what we're willing to share with others, and yet there is a deeper, more profound place. So we can get better in that. We've done the personal journey model. But what you've heard from people here in the last 2 days is that when you take a breath into that place in the gap, into that place of no mind. There is no duality. There is nobody here to get better. What we're here to do is reveal this sacred self, and what we're in is the emergence of this surrendered space to allow the cosmic awareness and the divine flow to run through us in every given moment. So this is the evolving moment, this place where we feel that we're in mutation, or that we're in an evolution, or we're really shifting inner and outer. So we have this gorgeous man standing there on our gorgeous planet Earth, and he's looking up at the divine feminine. And we're here to bring that integration of the divine feminine and the divine masculine, and find a place where we can celebrate them both. So we come to this intimacy matrix. And I'm going to skip through this to this here, because we've heard so many things in these days, I don't need to repeat any of them. And this, some of you may know, is from a man called David Hawkins, and he wrote this book in the 90s sometime, and it's called Power versus Force. And one of the things that he did was he used muscle testing to look at where we calibrate according to emotions and attitude. And what he discovered was that most of humanity was resonating below something called 200, a 200 frequency. And in that space, there is all of the shame and blame and you did and he did and apathy. That's all below this 200 resonance. And the first step out of the old paradigm is having courage to really take the step. So as one of the other speakers said, sometimes we don't even know that we're seekers. When we went to that first workshop or bought the book or the crystal, we had no idea, just something was moving our spirit to go in that direction. And suddenly we're a lot further down the road and we realize, wow, this is really important, and we're understanding energy and frequency, and we care about ourselves in a different way and about the people around us. So to skip through the other things that are there, you see these different resonances from willingness. Well, there has to be a willingness to witness. There has to be a willingness to look inside and say, hang on, I can be deeply accepting of how I'm feeling right now, but I might not want to be spraying it all over my partner every 5 minutes. Or actually, it hurts me to hurt those I love. And we get up to 500, and there he's got this frequency of love. And what he said was, and I read it recently again from Wayne Dyer, was that one person who was truly sat in the frequency of love that is absolutely unconditional, has nothing to do with an object, it's simply loving, has a balance to 75,000 others who are resonating below 200. Now you might think, what does this have to do with intimacy? When we're in big places like this, communing together, in some moment at the end of the day we're all going home, and it's easy to then think, well, that was really great and I really loved it, and a week from now you're on your own and you are the shift. So you think to yourself, am I really making a difference? What can I do? What is my purpose? Every single person in this room, wherever you are, whenever you are, coming back to love, you are making a difference. Standing at your kitchen sink and resonating belovedness, you are making a difference. And all of us around the world who do that are making a difference. So it's not always about what we're doing in the outer world. It's how our frequency is resonating. So when the frequency is resonating heartfully, when you breathe in your belly and plant your little flat feet on the planet, and you'll have noticed that I can't even speak with shoes on, that you're connected above and below, and you're opening your heart, and you are going to fall on your nose because we're human. There are going to be days when you just can't be anywhere else but in the that you're in. So you notice that you're in there, and you have a laugh to yourself, and you breathe, and you accept. You accept that that's part of the shift. And in that moment of acceptance of the shadow, you're loving it well. You're not pushing it away. You're not finding fault with yourself. You're really saying, this is okay too, because right now, right here, this is the gift that is given to me to transform and transmute in this time. So this is what acceptance is. It's not acceptance of, oh, I only accept it if. You know, that's the old paradigm. Love in the old paradigm is a contract. I love you if. You know, I love you if you behave the way I want you to. I love you if you meet my demands. I love you if you dress the way I do and behave the way I want. This is not love. This is agreements and contracts, and it has fear base in it. Love has nothing to do with objects. Love is love, the frequency of the universe, loving itself. So acceptance also is acceptance of all that is. So whenever we're in one of those crappy places, bring it home, embrace it, and love it well. So this is Bruce Lipton. When we choose to gain at the expense of another person, we're clearly not operating at optimum efficiency. And while survival of the fittest has enabled some in our species to do very well, survival of the individual at the expense of the whole now threatens the survival of the whole, which incidentally includes the individual. So on some level, I feel like we're all here on mission. I hope it's okay if I make a wee statement for this huge group of people. But we're all here because of the paradigm shift. We're all here in service in some way. And as we serve another, we also serve ourselves. So when we make decisions, as we heard from almost all of the other speakers, we're making decisions for the whole, or like the grandmothers say, you make a decision today that will serve 7 generations. So there's a movement out of this me and mine into something bigger and more. Oh, help! And this brings us to Dr. Emoto's experiments. And these experiments really show us what it means when we speak to ourselves in a certain kind of way. So with these water molecules, he put them in a little petri dish. How many of you know about Emoto's? Almost everybody, fantastic. So if you say beautiful things to a cell, it expands and it's a happy cell and it becomes a geometry. And if you say terrible things to that cell, it shrinks and it contracts. Now our cells are how many percent water? 80. So the inner language that we use is very important to how we support ourselves during this shift. So if you notice that you're finding fault with yourself, you're judging yourself, you're telling yourself what's not okay with you, your cells hear that every single time. Even more than the judgment that you put out there, you need to be paying attention to what are you really saying to this precious trillions in this little universe that is you. So it's a good thing in your gratitude practice to say, hey, thanks, body, you got me here. Through all of the things that we've been through, which is phenomenal, I'm still here. So there's really ways that we can support ourselves, and one of them is how we talk to ourselves in our inner voice. Our self-talk is really important. You need to be supporting your inner world really powerfully and nourishing your spirit. And this is raise your words, not your voice. And this came to me when I was sending this PowerPoint to Anthony, and I wondered why I would be doing this, and I do this around the world. So this is what a Gene Keys profile looks like. However, I'm not going to talk about gene keys and what it all is, because that's not what I'm here for, and I didn't think I was going to talk about it at all, but I ended up putting this in the PowerPoint. So in different countries, I also do a collective chart, because we have come together. This is like a soul meeting. We are a certain fractal of existence that has been drawn together, and the reason is because that gorgeous man had this idea somebody should put on a conference called the Paradigm Shift, and here we all are. So in this divine meeting, I thought I'm going to do the chart to see what are we actually all doing here together. What are we doing on a higher plane of reality? And when I looked at this chart, I was really astonished, because you can see at the top of this chart that there are 3 words there that has to do with, all of these words are related to streams of consciousness, and words have frequency. So within that stream of consciousness, there is the high frequency, which is transparency, and these high frequencies are called siddhis, or divine miracles, or holy ideas, or essential states, and they're really who we are. And the second word is the gift of the spectrum of consciousness, which is how we manifest that spectrum in the world. And the third word is the shadow. It's what's happened to the frequency in the collective. We get into all of these shadow frequencies. And the word there is dishonesty. So we're looking for intimacy, but what we're experiencing is dishonesty. And again, these are archetypes, and we're all resonating in some way with these archetypes. So I'd like us to take a moment here to be in service of the whole as we are all together, to just take a breath together and allow ourselves to go through these beautiful frequencies and love them well. And before I move on, I'm going to go to the next one, which is in the evolution point. So this is the gene key of the evolution for the chart of the paradigm shift. And it's the only key that where the gift and the siddhi is freedom. There's 22 pages dedicated to this gene key in Richard Rudd's book. And the core of this key is mutation. It's the key that is taking us through the mutative change. And it's also called the dream of the dragonfly. And I know I've spoken to a lot of you here that have relationships with dragonflies. Can you put your hand up if you're one of those people? There's a few of you. So the thing about the dragonfly is that it starts off in the water, and in the water it has no idea about anything about the water, but it absorbs the water into its body, and in time it moves out of the water and it grafts itself onto a stem or a leaf, and over time it grows wings. And this is why this is the dream of the dragonfly. We are all growing our wings. And the shadow of this is victimization, and I know that Anthony and maybe one or two others have talked about that. It's pretty clear that there's an archetype in the old paradigm that's very caught up with the victim. So part of our journey is to embrace these shadows and love them well. So if you would please be willing to be of service, as we have been blessed in these 2 days, maybe we can also be a blessing to the whole. And just close your eyes and just relax into this beautiful space where we've been blessed with so many amazing things in the last 2 days. And just open up to this shadow of dishonesty. And to know that this shadow is also an aspect of how the RNA and DNA don't always meet correctly in their transcription. So it's to bring it home, bring home this dishonesty. And notice there's maybe places in yourself that you immediately notice or think of, the places where you really want to share in transparency who you really are, but it's just too big a hurdle. And allow it and give it space and breathe into your belly and be accepting of whatever that shadow frequency is. You don't need to know anything about it. It's in the cosmic whole. It's part of this old paradigm that we're looking to heal well. And as you take a deep breath, open up to that intimate space in your heart. And just allow yourself into that deep well of intimacy where you know yourself so utterly and completely, and you're willing to share that with the people around you, and with nature, and with Gaia, and with all creatures in all realms. To simply be open to that intimate space. And to open further to receive this essential state of transparency. This place where we can really honestly be who we truly are. That you want to find yourself in a place where you're able to really see that you can share the truth of your being. You don't have to push it. It's in your own time. There's nothing to do. But you're acknowledging you to you in this moment. And as you take another deep breath, let's move into this 55, this evolution of humanity, the mutative change, the evolutionary process, the place where we are living the dream of the dragonfly. We're moving out of these old states and beyond the matrix of conditioned beliefs into freedom. True freedom. Freedom from the conditioned self, and freedom from the victimization. Freedom from thinking there's anyone out to get me. Instead, relaxing the belly and dropping the shoulders and remembering that I am a divine being. And maybe say that to yourself, I am the beloved that I have been seeking. Bring yourself into that intimacy and the freedom of being the longing that you have longed for. And breathe that space. And imagine that dragonfly, that you are the dreamer, dreaming the dream, coming out of the water. And the water is the emotions and humanity. We're moving out of this deep well of astral entanglement and this emotionality into the deep feeling wisdom that we truly have in our hearts. And just breathe into that space. And know that as we come together to do this, we are a blessing and we are blessed. And I'm going to move on now to the core of the chart, which is the love point. The chart for this weekend, it is presence that is the city, and self-assurance that is the gift, and superficiality is what we're healing. So just notice yourself again as you step into that beautiful place of self-assurance and take that deep breath. So just close your eyes and drop down into your belly, connected to the planet. Your heart is open. The crown chakra is receiving everything that you are ever going to need in every moment. And step yourself into that space of self-assurance, assured of the journey that you're on, assured of every moment of how you interact, being willing to own yourself and stand for yourself and know that you really are here as the change makers. Even when you're alone and in your kitchen or at the supermarket, your frequency is changing the world. And just breathe that and bring the pure presence and the uniqueness of who you are into this divine space, knowing that that presence is the greatest gift that you give to the world. It is your frequency and your resonance that is the true blessing that you share in every moment that you walk step by step on the planet. So let's take a deep breath together. Thank you for all your attention and your fun and your belovedness and your uniqueness. And thank you to Anthony for the invitation and for this amazing 2 days.